Warning. The following episode contains spoilers for the films It Chapter 1 and It Chapter 2. Hey there, all you clown effers. It's Keith the Third coming at you on behalf of the effects wizards behind It Chapter 2. And thanks to special input from our focus groups, we came up with the perfect improvements for Marianne. We've got... Nope, stop.
What?
It's fine.
Oh.
We're gonna get to that later in the episode.
Oh, okay.
So just roll the intro, I guess.
Welcome to Marianne's Macabre Review.
Welcome to Marianne's Macabre Review. Today we're talking about It Chapter 2. We have Jessica.
Hi.
Keith.
Hi.
And myself. I'm Marianne.
No way.
What? But today's discussion is going to be led by Keith because Jessica and I have already been on a podcast, The Good, the Bad, and the Geeky, talking about It Chapter 2. And we don't want to talk about the exact same things. We will cover some of the things, but we want to have Keith with fresh eyes since he just saw it last night. Mm-hmm. And so, take it away, Keith.
Well, first of all, I don't feel nearly energetic enough to do this. And I was trying to do the notes ahead of time, but you wouldn't stop talking to me during the car ride.
I'm such a bitch. God, Keith.
So I have one thing listed.
Can't read that.
The dance.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
So good.
Oh, it was so adorable.
So good.
Well, the problem, this is actually more related to, we rewatched Chapter 1 before Chapter 2, like the night before. It was the first time I'd watched it all the way through since I saw it in the theater a couple years ago.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys had affected my perception of one of my favorite scenes, which I didn't even realize was exaggerated to that extent. When Pennywise uncoiled himself out of the refrigerator and sauntered up to, was it Eddie?
Eddie.
Yeah. But, so I was like disappointed. There's no snapping.
I know, but we've added the snap to it. It's in our head.
Do it with style.
Yeah.
Do it with style or not at all.
So,
but still, just the callback of that from Richie in Chapter 2 was
my
probably
gosh.
my favorite things.
Huh? Huh?
Just the idea of the fourth wall breaking and the deconstruction of it all. Like, it was the scene where they were down in the clubhouse underground, and he was pretending to be Pennywise in the darkness, sort of imitating
and freaking
his
everybody
yes.
out because he's really good at voices.
Yes.
In the book, he was actually just a voice actor.
Oh.
And
Well, that's interesting.
Like, did cartoon voices and radio voices and stuff like that. Because in the book, it's like way earlier, so...
Yeah.
Way before...
The 50s. They're kids in the 50s.
Yeah, they're kids in the 50s.
Oh, so I guess they wouldn't have stand-up comedians then, or...
No, they existed.
They existed, but it wasn't...
Probably not in the
like
same
it is
format.
now.
Yeah. Was he famous? Was he
Yeah.
supposed to have been famous?
Do the radio phone voice and stuff like that is what I remember from the book.
Yeah.
Like, people keep asking him, do this voice. Isn't that funny how that ties into you, Keith?
I guess. I don't really see how, but...
Keith is a resident voice actor. You can find him on certain things, like the Kishi or Black Choir Boys. Is that the correct title?
It is not.
Okay, can you give me... I've been saying the title of his book wrong for a while. What is this called?
Black Heart Boys Choir.
Oh, shit.
Boys apostrophe.
Yeah, that's a little off. Marianne.
Well, it sounds like it.
She's like, I got 3 of the words.
3 of the words. So if you've been listening to a previous podcast and looked for Black Choir Boys, you're not going to find it. You're gonna look for what Keith said, or just go to Audible or Amazon and search J. Keith Jackson, and you'll be able to find all of his selections of fiction and nonfiction books that he will read to you. If you like his voice, I highly recommend it. I recommend the fiction books.
Though, all right. So, I mean, at the time of this recording, it has not been published. I mean, I've just finished in this processing, so I would say mid-October is when you'll be able to find it on Audible. Anyway.
This is going to be done for this Tuesday.
Yes.
Because we are slackers.
Yes. So that's hence the warning, because it's not going to be out by the time they hear this, if they listen to it.
Right away.
Yeah.
Like, get on it.
Why would anybody do that, though?
I don't know. Anywho. Do you have any other questions? Or are we just going to wrap up now?
Yeah, that was it.
Dance,
I just needed to talk about the
callback.
dance, and that was it. I don't know. I guess as a jumping off point for something, I remember one of the things I wanted to talk to you about on the way back last night was the casting. The kids versus the adults. I think people had talked about that, or they had been talking about that for a while. The idea of how they matched up, and I thought that it was just some interesting choices. And I think my favorite, of course, would have been Eddie.
Oh my gosh.
For
Yeah.
the kid versus the adult, they seemed like so well matched to each other that just, I wonder, and Mike, I wonder if they did like makeup of some sort to like make the chins more similar or something. Just kind of, it felt, yeah. Like how could they, did we might have talked about that in the first chapter. Did they cast the kids first or the adults first?
Kids first.
Yeah. So,
and then the kids gave suggestions for who they wanted to be
right.
their people.
And some of them they got.
Yeah, I know.
Like Bill Hader they got.
Bill Hader, James McAvoy, I think,
Yeah.
was one of them. I'm trying to remember who else. There's others that was like, you're never going to get this person. They've never done a single horror movie ever. I'm going to look it up now. So
That'll be good.
Yeah, Eddie's adult, I think, matched the best, too.
Yeah.
Like, they looked so similar.
The delivery and everything is just,
Yeah.
I wonder, I don't know, I wonder how big you would have to be, or it's just, I'm trying to imagine the idea of being along in a career and just rejecting the idea of being in It Chapter 2. I mean, I don't know, they probably wouldn't have been approached like after the movie was out, right? I mean,
What do you mean?
I'm right, I'm not
Like
saying
after
right.
the first one came out.
Yeah,
They
I mean, it
were-
would have to have been like before that. They probably would have been planning.
No, I feel
I
like
think it was after.
It had to be after.
So,
I'm just glad we're at the point where well-known actors will do things that traditionally they wouldn't.
yes, that's
Like
I guess that's what
horror
I'm trying to say.
movies and also like the Marvel movies.
Right.
You know, I mean, when it first started and we got like Robert Downey Jr., that was something. But now it's like, oh, we have all of these actors who are willing to do these roles now, and it makes them better. Not that I don't like my cheesy dumb slasher films, but the acting's not top notch. So
Yeah.
it's
Sometimes.
really nice to have like really good actors being like, yeah, let's do it.
I was nodding at the at the recorder for that one. That's going to come across very well. What was I going to say? What I was getting at there is I wonder if they had a chance to see how popular the first chapter was to have that affect their decision of getting on board with it. But, yeah. It seems like something you wouldn't want to say no to, but did you find, talking to Marianne now, did you find like who said no or?
I'm looking right now. I
She's
can't.
finding it.
Yeah.
That's why you need to keep talking.
Okay. Or we could just sit in silence and cut it out later.
But I mean, I think it's just a general trend anyway, because like James McAvoy did Split.
Mhm.
Like that was a risk because
Was it? Well,
I think so, because M. Night Shyamalan was still kind of like looked down on at that
Oh.
point.
I think that when he did Split, I think that was his recovery back to
Yeah, I think Visit started it because I thought The Visit was good, well done.
Don't know if I saw The Visit. Did we watch that? I don't.
It's the little kids go to visit their grandparents.
Yes, we saw it.
And they start acting real weird.
That was called The Visit?
Yeah.
What did you think it was
I
called?
don't remember what I thought it was called. It was just like, remember, that was the funny one. It was kind of like the thing with the oven. Go check the oven for me. That thing. Yeah.
Like
I love that
Hansel
one,
and Gretel
actually.
type.
Yeah.
Okay. So Finn Wolfhard, Richie Tozier, Richie Tozier obviously, said he wanted Bill Hader. Beverly Marsh said she wanted Jessica Chastain. Mike Hanlon wanted Chadwick Boseman. Eddie wanted Jake Gyllenhaal. Stanley Uris wanted Joseph Gordon-Levitt. And Ben Hanscom wanted Chris Pratt. And Bill wanted Christian Bale.
Christian Bale is older than all of them other
Yeah.
Sorry, I stopped processing when you said Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Ben wanted Chris Pratt.
Oh.
And then Christian Bale for Bill Denborough.
Okay.
I'm glad they did not
picturing
get Christian Bale. Because
Yeah.
I probably would have just spent the whole time concerned about Christian Bale.
concerned
As I
in what
am
way?
in every movie he's
Yeah.
in.
He's either really fat or really skinny. And you're like,
Watching the preview for Ford versus Ferrari, I was like, oh God, Christian Bale, what are you doing?
yeah.
What are you doing this time?
I listened to a thing on him talk on NPR, and he said he will never go fat again.
Well, yeah, he's getting too damn old.
Yeah, he said he got gout in his feet and couldn't walk to set or anything.
Holy crap, what was he eating
Yeah, I don't know.
to gain weight?
Gout pills.
He must have been like pure sugar.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
he says he'll never do that again. He says he'll go. He of course he can lose the weight. I mean, he's back down to like this big again. It's crazy. That's a little itty bitty thin thing.
Well, she was
I'm
she was
worried
making.
for his heart.
Yeah,
is
his
what
little
I'm
heart.
worried for.
Wait, so this to save myself some post production time. Marianne was using like a little OK sign, but it was about the size of a dime. the hole that she was doing, so
Yeah,
that was meant
it's
to
itty bitty.
meant to be like a rod of some sort.
Yes.
Okay.
He is skeletal in appearance. Again.
Yeah, I'm also glad they didn't go with Chris Pratt.
I think it would have overshadowed things a bit.
Yeah.
But I can see that being a good choice for.
But he's also not fit anymore, also. So.
Well, and I feel like sometimes they write him as a Chris Pratt type. Like
Yeah.
in movies that are
Oh,
not
Right. Yes.
Guardians.
I
Yeah.
totally
like
agree.
there's some movies where I'm like, I know this was a writing choice, not an acting choice. And I disagree with it.
Yeah.
Like Magnificent Seven, it was like, just be Chris Pratt. And I was like, no,
No,
don't tell him to just be Chris Pratt.
No, please don't.
I think well, sorry, on that subject. I thought Guardians was very much that way. Actually, like be Chris
did
Pratt.
too.
And it works for Guardians.
I guess, but I think it made it that.
Star-Lord is a serious character in the comics and in the cartoons we've watched. He's not. It's Rocket is supposed to be that
Wisecracker.
wisecracker.
I actually, my favorite version of Chris Pratt would be like the Jurassic Park stuff.
Oh, yeah.
That kind of
Oh,
level
yeah.
of like, yeah,
Semi-serious.
Yeah.
When I'm nervous, I wisecrack. Like
yeah.
Spider-Man.
And like Jessica Chastain, she's done like 2 horror movies before this. Like she was in Mama and the one with shit, what's it called?
We'll get there. Hold on.
With Tom Hiddleston, Crimson Heart, Crimson something, Peak, Crimson Peak.
Oh,
I knew I'd get there
sounds
eventually.
familiar.
who's she in that?
She's his sister. She's amazing in that movie. She was the only part of that movie I liked.
She was really in. Wow.
She was a whack job in that movie.
She was. That's why, and she had black hair too. So
I don't
didn't
remember
even
that.
Remember, like, yeah. Wow. Okay. Wow.
I think I've liked her in everything I've seen, pretty much. It's just, yeah, it's that one sounds like. Again, it's like how big is too big? How big would you have to think that you are to not do it, etc. You know, I mean,
It's like, do you like money? Okay.
I guess if you're just not a horror fan.
Yeah.
well, it's like even James McAvoy. Obviously, A-list to some extent now. I mean, it's hard for me to imagine at what point I would have said he blew up to the point where I was like yes, I know exactly who you mean when you say that name and the face and everything, but maybe I'm not sure if I would have known him before, like, say, the X-Men First Class stuff.
Oh, I know. What was it? Penelope? That movie with Christina Ricci where she has a pig nose? It's like a kid's movie. Oh, I loved that. He's in that. But yeah. And he was in Split, so he's done horror.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Example, Jodie Foster in the one right after Silence of the Lambs, where she's like, "Oh no, I can't do Hannibal. I have kids now."
What?
That's silly.
Yeah, I know. It's like
Just
just
don't
don't
show
show
it
it to him. So yeah. So
But yeah, and I feel like traditionally horror movies have been something you do before you're famous.
Mm-hmm.
Or like as a make money on the side for like TV actors or
I
things
mean,
like that.
look at Christopher Lee. He has like 300 credits, and he's like, "Sure, I'll do it. I'll do it. I'll do it."
Well, yeah, or like Vincent Price, whose whole career is on horror films.
Yeah, so good, so good.
They were like exceptions, I feel,
as
opposed to the norm.
Yeah.
So I hope this trend continues.
Yes.
Of like
A-list actors.
Yeah, quality actors being like, yeah, we'll do it. And I think like American Horror Story has also helped too.
Oh yeah, because that's brought it into the mainstream horror into mainstream.
Yeah, and getting good actors to do that stuff.
I guess one of the factors might be, is it eligible for awards? Or is it just completely disqualified immediately because of the genre? Or the genre?
Thank you.
Which most of the time it is.
Which is ridiculous, because Toni Collette should have won for Hereditary.
She was so good. I'll just be pissed until I die about that. Not even a nomination.
Not even a nomination. It's like... And I think Jordan Peele has helped with his...
Yeah, I think so.
Okay, so I'm trying to copy this so I can repeat it later, but I'm just going to read it now.
Do it.
The refrigerator scene, this is from It, Chapter 1. Mm-hmm. The refrigerator scene was filmed involving Bill Skarsgård partially contorting his body and CGI. Huh. Attached to wires, Bill Skarsgård was filmed lying at the bottom of the refrigerator on his back, to which the wires would pull him out of the refrigerator and rotate his body as he steps out. His actual body was digitally removed and replaced with a digital body. Portions of the body were digitally built in order for the limbs to be maneuvered in various intricate ways. The unfolding was hand-animated. Wow.
That's awesome.
Bill Skarsgård's head ultimately remained intact for the shot.
I think that's the one thing that would scare the piss out of me, is if someone came out of a fridge like that. I'd be like, nope. What are you contorting like that for? I don't think so. That's unnatural.
So I feel like we've strayed way too far from this from the second chapter of the movie at this point. So,
okay. I have a question for Keith. How did this movie make you feel?
Well, I was actually about to say that. I'm going to broach the subject of scariness and so on. It's just like I didn't... something... I'm not sure how scared I was by the first one either, come to think of it. Something didn't feel like the stakes. Like I think I felt like I knew what had to happen anyway, so it wasn't really...
If you remember, we had Ariel with us, so she was kind of our outlet for our scaredness.
Oh gosh, Ariel.
The first time.
She was so funny.
We watched it with her?
Yes, we watched it with her. Remember, she
at
would
one point
scream.
She yanked Marianne out of her chair.
Yeah. Well, she yanked you. No, wait.
No, it was... She ended up on my lap, and you were next to me.
Yeah.
And we were like, how did this occur?
What happened?
How did we get here?
So, the fact that most of the time we were following the adult versions of them, as they're coming to terms with what's going on and figuring things out the way that an adult might. Not that the kids didn't reason things through better than they probably should have at that age. The type of responsibility and commitments they were making. They seemed appropriately scared at certain times. But, as the movie progressed, especially like the spider scene, or rather when Pennywise turned into the
giant-ass spider.
Yeah, spider-type monster thing. That went on for so long, it felt like, to me. I don't know what was going on with me. I was sort of kind of almost even zone out. But something about the tension sort of falling away from it. I was getting too accustomed, I guess, to the idea of what was happening. And it seemed like the adults were too. Eventually, they were like, just don't be scared. And they weren't, and then it stopped. I don't know if that makes any sense, but just something about the way that...
Well, yeah, and I've been so people have been asking me about this movie, because there's been a lot of reviews like, oh, it's not as scary as the first one, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, well, you have to keep in mind, Pennywise works on fear, and these people are adults.
Yeah.
So it's not going to be as scary as when they were kids, because he's a fucking clown who shapeshifts
Yeah.
based on their feelings. And I feel like really what Chapter 2 is about is, like, taking your childhood trauma and overcoming it still affects you, but here's how you overcome it. And they all have to come to terms with, this is the thing that bothered me when I was a child and hurt me, but now I have to either let it go or realize it doesn't define me or whatever. And then Pennywise doesn't have his power anymore, because it's like he's not going to be as powerful as when they're kids.
Yeah.
Yep.
And trauma won't affect you the same way always when you're grown.
Mm-hmm. I
yeah.
like that.
I very much agree. I think it would have been, I don't know what, well, all right, so even when they're split up, I think that was a very good, probably the scariest parts were when they were individually going through and finding their treasures, and just the, God, I don't know if I don't know if I should say this for the intro or not, but it seemed like the focus group was, we need to add more things to bother Marianne's. What can we give them? How about more balloons and more old lady titties? That was a thing we didn't really have in the first.
Yep.
So
It's like,
okay.
I had
Now I'm just imagining him coming after Marianne with balloons and her being like, nope, get him away from me, get him away from me.
Yeah. That would have been enough for her, just like, huh? So, yeah, all right. So, let's start with...
just like rubbing a balloon with your hand
rubbing
and
a thumb
making a
over
noise.
Let's start with Bowers. What was his name? Something
Henry Bowers.
Yeah, Henry Bowers being summoned from the asylum, and Marianne's visible shift in physical just tension when she knew it was coming when he went into the room, and he pulled the blanket off, and there's that balloons like poking out from underneath the bed, and it's kind of like
wedged there,
just like, and Henry just keeps rubbing it, and like,
yeah.
like what's gonna happen?
Pulling it at the little teat part, where
Yeah.
it's like, and it's like stretching and stretching. I'm like, it's gonna pop, it's gonna pop.
You knew it was gonna pop.
I knew it was gonna pop.
And she was still like, ah.
Yeah, I hate it. I hate balloons.
But the other thing, so we got the other scene with Beverly returning to her her childhood home, and you keep seeing little things that are off in the background with the hostess, who would suddenly kind of like, you could see the silhouette of her kind of doing something, moving strangely, like kind of a little jerkily, running off this frame and then peeking around, and then
Then just being nude.
Yes, leading up to that, which was horrifying in its own way.
And then the hag.
God, that was
the hag. So it was like,
I had a lot of fun in that scene. I was just like, oh, what's going on?
Multiple throats, and that was another thing that they did, where they had most of that scene in previews.
Oh, I'm glad I didn't see it.
That whole part of the was a preview.
It was
like a teaser,
like a teaser preview, like that whole scene. Like, it was like different parts from that room, from that whole scene, but they never showed you the hag, or the rottingness on her chest.
Also, this is something I would have liked to have written down. I wouldn't have remembered this if I hadn't gotten here. So it seemed like we were being given a little backstory about the character Pennywise himself. Like, this was supposed to be his daughter, I guess, the clown. So that begs the question, I don't know if they mentioned this in the book, was there an actual man who was the clown who sort of was imbued with these powers?
There is no backstory in the book, but Stephen King has written it, and it was filmed. So in the extended edition we will get, they're going to make an ultra cut of It 1 and 2 together for so many hours, and it will have some deleted scenes put back in.
That would be
amazing.
I guess it's probably good we waited for the It 1 disc anyway, so. Just wait for the combined edition.
Yep.
But yeah, we saw that little flashback of Bill Skarsgård.
Yeah.
With his face just sort of shaped like Pennywise, generally speaking, like, the big forehead, the tapered jaw, putting on his makeup, and
just enough makeup to make it look like not Bill Skarsgård. I mean, it looked like Bill Skarsgård in the lower part, but the top part, you're like,
why is his head exploding?
Yeah, what's up with that?
Why are you swelling?
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't even so grotesque to the point where it didn't look like it couldn't have been a real head either, which was I thought was very interesting. So I can't wait for the backstory on that.
He's super attractive. He's a Skarsgård after all, and because of this, I am now following a few blogs on Tumblr.
You're following a few blogs on Tumblr.
On Tumblr, called Daddy Wise, because I like Tim Curry too, and Tim Curry as It is. I mean, it's still Tim Curry, so it's like, maybe,
I support you.
Well, I guess we're gonna have to find out when we see Joker at some point. Is that out yet? I mean, it's like out
week.
Nice, all right.
Yeah, I'm secretly hoping that's going to be a horror, so we can review it. I don't think it will be,
based on how much it's winning at film festivals. I'm skeptical.
Yeah,
it's like no, they're going to downplay that. It's not horror. No.
Well, it's his origin story, I think.
It's just going to be super uncomfortable.
Yeah.
I anticipate watching it and just being like,
yeah.
But anyway, Back to it.
And Marianne liking clowns, apparently. Or
at
least Bill Skarsgård and or Tim Curry clowns.
We're trying to gracefully kind of just shift away from that subject, but we can't do it. Okay. So just me thinking about the individual stories they were bringing up. I'm not sure how much of that was from the book as well, but we got some hints for Richie there. When he's going back to get his token from the arcade, we got the flashback of it looked so. Henry's cousin, as it turned out, was playing Street Fighter with him. Mm-hmm. And it could very, very easily have been him, without his friends, wanting to have some sort of companionship. Yeah. Like, hey, you sure don't want to keep playing some more?
I'll give you a quarter. And then he saw Henry.
Yeah.
Or the cousin saw Henry and was like, just made this absolute horrible statement about him. Mm-hmm.
Well, he had to posture at that point. It's like, I'm not supposed to like this loser, and I can't lose face. And then took the homophobic route with it. Mm-hmm. And it seemed, I'm not sure if that even occurred to me before that. The idea of there being some sort of homoerotic tension from Richie to anyone else. Mm-hmm. But that was obvious as soon as that happened, I was like, oh, this is what they're doing. And then
I watched It Chapter 1 after I had seen It Chapter 2 with you, and this is before Keith had seen Chapter 2 also. I had already seen it. So I watched for any interactions between Richie and Eddie, and I saw multiple things where Richie protected Eddie, comforted Eddie. I mean, it was definitely there. We just weren't looking for it.
Well, no, and my thing is, like, when they're kids, I'm not looking for it. Yeah. I'm not interested, thanks.
Yeah. Well, it's not, they like each other. I mean, some people find out they're gay really early, and they're like, I have a friend that was like, I remember when I turned 10, I was writing down the initials of boys I thought were cute in my diary every day. And he's like, I knew back then. And I was like,
But since the It Chapter 2 introduced it to me, I was like, oh, I ship it. Oh, I know this is going to end badly. Oh, but I'm going to ship it anyway. Oh. Mm-hmm.
So let's go back to the beginning of this chapter. I don't know, was the gay bashing bit in the book?
Yes.
Okay. Well, at least that makes sense they put that in there. So there were a couple things that were dropped, figuratively and literally, that I was surprised about. The the guy that actually got dumped over to the river, he dropped his inhaler. And I thought, I would have sworn that was going to come back later, like maybe Eddie needed to find his and couldn't find, whoa, suddenly there's this inhaler that the other guy dropped.
It was not Chekhov's inhaler.
So later, though, he came back in ghost form to kind of hand something off to Richie during his little thing with the balloons out in the park with the statue.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He
handed him a flyer that said, dead,
oh, yeah,
rest in peace.
Right.
And it was just like the missing flyer, but now it was the dead, your dead flyer. Funeral announcement flyers.
But it seems like a purposeful sort of nod, like a gay handoff, like, ha ha ha.
Yeah. I'm like you.
Something like that, whatever, but yeah.
But it was a secret, and Pennywise had his little song. I know your secret. So good. So good. I've been watching that on Tumblr, too. People have edited those together. So good. So good.
So, I guess one of the good things about this chapter was also, as I was saying, it was almost negative if you want it to be scary, but as the movie got going, you got to get a lot more of Pennywise just really being able to just have conversations with them. And I love the voice that Skarsgård does for that.
Oh, yeah. It's very creepy. It's like, no one wants to play with clowns anymore.
Oh, God, the thing with the little girl was amazing.
Oh, that little girl.
I was so convinced by the idea. There were a couple times where it seemed like he was going to be benevolent, and they just kind of kept teasing that.
Oh, yeah.
Like the beginning when he rescued the guy from the river, rescued.
Yeah.
When he's talking, the interaction with the little girl, it seemed like they actually had a connection, something they could bond over, and nope.
He used the girls, you can't, don't hurt anybody. All women have that kind of like, I will spare your feelings before I'll spare my own safety.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're taught that.
Yes, we're taught that, and that's how we get hurt in many occasions. So she was taught that, and when she saw Pennywise was crying, she went back to comfort him. For goodness sakes, he's a murder clown, honey.
She doesn't know.
She doesn't know that. And, he's like,
nobody likes me.
They make fun of me.
They make fun of me.
Yeah.
To be fair, he was pretty damn convincing.
He was.
Yes.
But I loved her initial, you're not my friend, you're scary. And she just turned around and I was like, keep walking.
Keep walking.
Keep walking. Why are you even under the fucking bleachers?
Yeah.
Get out.
I couldn't help but, when things like that come up, though, I always wonder, would there have been any possible way to just walk away from any of these things that were happening?
If you're a small child, probably not.
Could Georgie have Could Georgie have been like, I don't really want the boat, and just walked home, and nothing would have happened to him?
He may have been able to.
Yeah.
Because if he stayed far enough away from the sewer and ran off, not that it couldn't jump out and grab him.
Well, we saw the hand stretch out after him after he bit off the hand. It was like pulled him back in by the leg.
See, that's the thing in the book. He loses his arm and bleeds out and dies there, and his body doesn't disappear.
Oh,
so it's not.
So in the book, we see a neighbor. It's a guy is on the porch and sees Georgie there. He goes and carries the body home. I found him in front of my house, and so there's no question. There's no maybe his body went to the Barrens. Maybe his body went here. So yeah, but I don't think I did the part with the little kid in the new.
Yes.
New one.
That poor little kid.
That poor little
getting traumatized.
God.
Yeah. Richie yells at him. and then Bill grabs him and is like, You leave now. You tell your parents whatever. Leave now. And
okay, man, I just gotta go to the festival.
Okay, going to the festival now. Bye. Put your hands off me. And then when he sees him in the thing, and he's like, why are you following me? Just good reaction, child.
Yeah.
So, was there any escape for that kid? Did that even really happen to him?
Didn't happen in the book.
No, I mean, in the
movie,
context of the movie, this is what I'm trying to figure out. This is the general question of, could these people have gotten away? Did it even happen to the kid in the mirror place, or was that just a vision that Pennywise was
I don't
doing
know about
to
that one.
torture Bill?
That one's an interesting one.
Yeah, I'm assuming he's dead. Because... But I kind of think he was already dead and gotten before Bill even got to the mirror maze. Because he sent the skateboard as like a message.
Huh.
So I was like, I was assuming he was already dead and this was all just to mess with Bill.
You're not going to save me either.
Yeah. That was, I said that to you, the most heartbreaking part for me was Bill having to forgive himself for not going out to
that
play
was great.
with Georgie.
Yeah.
That was so good.
Sorry, I believe Marianne said that didn't happen in the book.
I don't remember that happening in the book. Now that very possibly could have happened. But I don't remember it at all. And I don't remember it in the 1990s version either. You think that was something key that they would have done that?
Yeah.
I did like how they changed Mike's character to be the leader. And I think Keith mentioned that yesterday too. Was how I mentioned I love how they said I love you to each other in like in a platonic
So sweet.
way, and that was amazing. And then Keith started talking about, I really liked how they made him partial leader with Bill. It's like he was leading the charge with this. He remembered everything and he took charge and led the folks, where in the first movie I kind of felt like he was
just a plot device, a little anchor there to go, hey guys.
Well, no, he in the book is the one that has doing all the research on Derry, not Ben.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, which
and
is
in the first one too.
Yeah.
The 1990 one.
That was really frustrating that they took that away from Mike, because then it makes no sense that he's a librarian in the future thing. It's just, he had no memory of it.
That is strange.
It's like,
yeah, and even in this one, I felt like Mike was the least developed character, which was kind of annoying. But he was at least more developed than he was
definitely
in the 90s movie.
Yeah.
Because in that one, it's like, oh, he's here,
and
then he gets injured and he's out.
Yeah.
And you're just like, well,
that's what happens in the book. He gets stabbed and goes to the hospital.
So
and
like, and that was a waste of the actor too.
And what was the other thing? We didn't get any of his finding his treasure or token or whatever. He all of a sudden shows a rock and it's like, remember this? It's got blood on it.
Why would... I'm trying to remember what was even going on during that battle where he would have found that significant.
That's the first time they met.
Yeah.
They
Henry
all
Bowers and them were
beating the shit out of him.
Trying to get him to eat the raw meat or something, right?
Okay. All right. So that's when they threw the rock.
Beverly threw the rock.
Okay.
And hit him in the head.
All right. No, that's good.
We didn't see him doing that and having a flashback or anything. We didn't have any flashbacks from him. We didn't have any. We had one from Ben. He was in summer school. He was sleeping in summer school.
Yeah, it took me a while to figure that one out too.
Yeah, because I was like,
I can see why that would have been confusing.
Because we had mentioned in our previous podcast, why was he even in school?
And I thought about it after, and I'm like, okay, so Pennywise doesn't just stay for the summer; he stays for like a year. So it's entirely possible
he could have been. They could have been in school because it said
they could have gone back to school and we're still fighting him. I don't know. The timeline's iffy. I'd have to pay more attention. I know they give months.
Yeah,
in the first one.
It ends in September.
Okay. So,
and this one was. They show a sign of it saying summer school.
Yeah.
Okay.
On the front of the, where they put all the letters.
Okay. That's smart. Why would he be in summer school?
Well, he was sleeping in summer school. I think because he didn't have any friends, and he didn't want to go back to the library because we saw what happened there.
Yeah.
I think he went to school as his only refuge.
That could be it. Or maybe he's new and had to catch up or something.
That's why, and I also thought that maybe he had to catch up, even though he was super smart.
Okay. Mystery solved.
Okay, so Keith, feelings at the end. What did you think?
As I was saying before, just the use of Pennywise in this. There is something... I think they've almost went too far into making him almost seem sympathetic when he was so tiny, and they were just, you could almost see the conflict on their faces as well as they were doing it. Like when he was so shrunken down, and they had to grab the heart out of him. Mm-hmm. It's almost like they hadn't expected it to work so well when they were saying, "You're a clown, you're a clown, you're a clown," and I was like, they're picking on this little thing.
You're just a clown.
No, they're the bullies. Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, I wouldn't feel bad.
Nope.
But I mean, that
He
does
did
show
murder
they're
their
human
friend.
as opposed to him, who doesn't feel bad
Doesn't
at all
give a
doing
crap.
this to kids. And because it does feel bad to make people feel bad, even when they're shitty.
Yeah.
Even if it's somebody I don't like, I don't really like to make people feel bad.
Yeah.
That makes you a mean girl, and that's not good.
I mean, I don't particularly mind being mean, but I do feel guilty later. I'm like, damn it, feelings are dumb.
Do you think you could have followed through in that position, though?
With a clown that had murdered my brother, or... Yeah, I probably could have.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, when it comes to family, you can't be mean to my family. I will break you.
I would have said all kinds of horrible shit to that clown to make him die.
Yep.
What? You ain't shit, Pennywise?
What was it you said? Why is this
sloppy
me?
bitch? Yeah. I was like, why is Richie me? Because that's some dumb shit I'd yell at him to distract him.
Hey, you sloppy bitch.
And then, what?
Pennywise just looks at him like,
excuse me?
excuse me, what? So that he...
I wonder if Pennywise has to learn the slang every 30 years. When he comes out, like,
that is
how
interesting.
do I get to them?
Yeah.
What can I say? What can I say?
It's like his first time out in the 80s. He's like, hey, that's some cool hip jive you were wearing there. And the kid's like, I'm sorry, what?
Well, presumably,
That's
seems
the bomb.
it seems like he's in their heads to pull stuff out of it. So I guess maybe it gets updated, like a
What do you think,
system
Keith,
update
about? So the fact that he was able to get Adrian at the beginning, who's an adult, and he doesn't really go for adults. The only adults we see him go for are our core group.
That
do you
is
think
strange.
it's because Adrian just went through this like horrible fear experience, and so he's vulnerable?
It's hard for me to think of anything else that would be better. I mean, that immediately sounds like one of the best explanations for it. There's something about his partner, who apparently had grown up there since he was a kid.
Yeah.
Maybe had he never left, I guess.
Yes.
Sorry, had he never?
I feel like
Had he never left? I guess. There we go.
I feel like he must have left.
Yeah.
Because how else would he meet this guy?
Internet? Maybe he came
School.
college
I
or
figured he
something.
went out
Yeah.
for college or something.
Another basic idea at the beginning. I was wondering. Again, I like to think about those things. Could they have walked away at some point and not been chased down?
Probably not.
Was there something he could have not said and just kept walking? Could have prevented that.
I think
I think
those
they would have gone after him.
people were horrible people. That small... Every time I look at that young boy, I was just... Ugh.
Yeah, that was such an unsatisfying experience in the sense that you wanted to see something happen to those people that were beating them.
The bad people.
Just, oh man, even the little boy, even the little boy, maybe especially the little boy, something to happen to him.
Yep.
Anyway.
It just shows that no one changes in Derry. If you don't leave Derry, you don't change. I mean, just like the pharmacist's daughter picking on Eddie when he was like...
Oh, right, yes.
And she's still exactly the same.
Exactly the same. Chewing bubblegum, permed hair, up in a top knot.
The thing is, it doesn't even have to have a supernatural element to it. I mean, I'm sure that there are places like that today.
Exactly.
That are exactly like that.
That's what I want to talk about, the horror aspect of this. There were two different horror aspects to this movie. It was the horror of reality of we live in a world right now where this can happen to a gay man at any time. And then there's the Pennywise the clown biting people's heads off.
Well, and that was the thing.
Almost seems like a relief.
It's like this, and I've described it this way before. It's like this story is really a coming of age story and dealing with trauma. There just so happens to be an evil alien clown that like embodies that and feeds it.
Yeah.
Like he embodies all the horrors that we already have.
Yeah. So Keith, I wanted to get back to the point where you were talking about what I'm trying to lead you towards, and we're not there yet.
Oh, feelings, and he keeps saying scary.
Yeah.
Instead of
The letter from Stanley and the stuff from with Eddie and Richie, the carving the name in the wood and stuff. FYI, to clarify, I did cry at the end this time. I was just like full on ready for it, and I still cried.
ready to cry.
Yeah.
But not the first time?
The first time it caught me by such surprise. I was like, I'm crying. Oh my gosh. You know, and not crying like full on, but just like, I need a cathartic cry from this, and I still didn't get it, but
To watch it at home and just be like,
yeah.
I don't know, maybe I was too tired and distracted to feel some of the full impact of that, but I certainly had I don't know, I mean, I don't know if we've ever talked about this before, but certainly when I can tell a movie is doing something, I'll kind of reflexively put up a little membrane or something to keep it from really just making me feel that thing. But I could kind of, it's like I can kind of detect it happening. It's like, oh yes, I understand it. This is very touching, you know, that kind of thing. And I appreciated what they were doing with it.
Keith actually did this like, aha, I knew it. And I was like, Keith. I'm trying to cry here. And Keith is like, dun, 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 I solved the mystery.
Well, yeah, I guess it wasn't out of the blue for me because there were a couple things I was sort of thinking about throughout it, like trying to figure out, well, I mean, when we first saw him starting to carve that letter, I was like, okay, the whole point is now to wait for the big reveal of what the next letter is going to be, whose initial is it going to be.
Yeah.
It could have been a few, but E made it
more heart-wrenching.
My feelings.
And the letter, certainly the set of suicide notes at the end, it was an emotional thing, but at the same time, it was satisfying as an explanation for what had happened. It was you got the feeling when he said what he said. I mean, you heard him saying, "I'm keeping my promise."
Yeah.
Bill, or something to that effect when he was in the bathtub. And that bleeding at first I thought was some sort of thing with the scar on their hands, like there was some...
that they were opened back up.
But this was something else. It was him actually cutting himself open. And you're like, huh. This didn't seem like something he was doing out of fear, exactly. And so...
I liked that so much where he said, I'm removing myself from the playing field. That was so good.
Yeah, because in the old one, it's just like he did that because he was too scared to go back. And the end.
The end.
Yeah.
I'm too scared to go back. No, this one was so much better because it gave Stanley, it made him save face a little bit more than just...
It gave him purpose, and he was much more present throughout this, I feel, than he was in... the 90s version.
The shower caps. Oh my gosh, that was so adorable.
It's like they kept him there with them, so it really was like, oh, he is here fighting with us. Because at the end, it's like, oh, let's not forget Stanley's shower cap.
Well, that reminded me, when we got to the subject of the bathtub and everything, something else I had been looking for throughout the movie as a result of that. I was expecting then for either... like his ghost to help him in some way. Like this was his way of doing that.
Yeah.
Or later on, the thing with the refrigerator, you know, the kid Stanley coming out of that and doing the contorting thing. And I thought there was...
Not really the contorting thing, just the head falling off thing.
Well, it seemed to be like a callback to that about to happen. And then just like, nope.
That does happen in the book, but it's in the library instead.
So I felt a little confused about when that part of the revelation came up, I was hoping, I don't know what I was hoping for exactly, but I thought that it was going to tie in more directly to something that was going to happen during the confrontation, like something that wouldn't have been able to happen if he hadn't been dead, but it was more of a him predicting that he couldn't have helped, which, who knows?
Yeah. Eddie certainly helped, even though he thought he couldn't do anything.
Baby Eddie.
Oh.
Precious baby Eddie.
So, was there anything that we didn't like in the movie? not enough Pennywise being creepy. I did like my favorite scene is the tongue just being drug up the window and it just goes forever. It's like squeak. And the kid's just like,
right? Because how else would you react to that? And just be like,
okay.
Well, it's
maintaining meaningful eye contact the whole time.
Yes.
Right?
You touched on it earlier. I think Jessica in particular, the idea that it couldn't have worked the same way because of their adulthood and he needed to be more complex, and it wouldn't necessarily just be him as a clown saying creepy things to them, and they had to like kind of get at them psychologically in the sense of
hit him in the feels.
Yes, like reasoning them into fear, or taking forms of other people that would affect them. And
and they overcame.
Yep, they did.
Because a lot of the one that kind of made me laugh was the one it's like, "You're just gonna die alone, fat boy," and he's like, "Beverly, I love you." Like, that broke it.
Yeah,
because she's like, "What? Oh."
Everyone all of a sudden's like, "Oh." Yeah, that was nice.
So this ended up kind of jumping to like maybe Nightmare on Elm Street Part 3 or something, sort of like the difference between Freddy Krueger in the first one and then the subsequent sequels, where it would have been a little much if it always been like, I'm so scary, I'm kind of making faces at you, as opposed to just kind of taunting them or kind of getting to that kind of battle of wits sort of thing, where it's almost like a funny character, but still scary in other ways.
So what would you rate it, Keith?
Numbers.
Just what would you rate it?
I don't know, like an 8. I liked it a lot.
Yeah.
It did not feel like 3 hours to me.
No, it didn't to me either.
It made me so emotional.
Surprise feels.
I liked how they handled Stanley's the letter. I thought his death at the beginning was just kind of glossed over, and I didn't like that. Like, I thought they went too fast with it.
Yeah, they really needed to see it.
The 90s one, I liked how they did the 90s one, where you don't know what happens to Stanley until like an hour in, when they keep being like, "Where's Stanley? Where's Stanley? Where's Stanley?"
And the door, it was the end of the first night. Yeah. They swung the door open, and there is just in one finger in blood is it.
Yeah, like a huge, and he's just laying there in the bathtub. And like the impact was a lot more like gut punching, I thought. I know most people didn't have a problem with glossing over, or like, I don't want to say glossing over, but rushing through his death scene. But I thought it could have been more.
I think
but
they
then
could have
you
made
got
it more impactful.
And I don't think that would have taken away from the letter at the end. Like, because you would have got more horror in the beginning. And
right.
I think I would have, once we brought in, I guess, aliens or something like that, it would have been nice to, maybe if I see it again, I'll get more, I'll find the exposition a little bit more precise or something. Yes, like if I'm prepared to pay attention to what they're talking about there, maybe I can find more detailed explanation of what exactly it was and what they were doing there and how they worked. But it's sometimes when they dangle things like that, it's
like, no, I need to now go to the Wikipedia and read all about it versus trying to watch it.
Well, I mean, it's either too much or not enough, I guess is what I'm saying. Especially when you're doing things that seem to be completely supernatural. If you start bringing in like a science fiction element, then you want to know what are these things then? What are these orbs for? And I don't know if we got that or not. Maybe we did, and I just didn't
Like, you don't need to know that much about it. Just know that it's a Native American ritual, and we're going to use it to defeat this alien.
Yeah.
Boom.
Done.
But why are there 3 orbs? Sorry, go ahead.
The 3 orbs of the Deadlights.
But what? Yeah.
Okay, so anyway, I would give it, It Chapter 1, I gave a 10. It Chapter 2, I'd give a 9. I would have gone with 8, but the feelings bumped it up to a 9. I thought the best actor was Bill Hader as Richie. When he started crying in the gully. What is that?
The Fern Gully.
The forge. The gorge, yeah. Can't remember the name of it. When he was in there and he started crying, it was just like, I know that feeling. That's the sadness. So it was there. I felt it from him, and I thought he was the best actor. Horror, I would give it, because there's so much. Yeah, there's the horror that we're all used to, like the blood and the guts. But the things that got me were the balloons and the freaky real life horror of, bullies and people bashing on gay people and doing hate crimes. And in the book, there's a lot of hate crime, a lot of the N-word said towards Mike, a lot.
Yeah,
and
I would have figured.
Yeah,
but.
especially in the book when it's all the way back in the 50s where it was just even more. But anyway, it's up there for me. Scare factor, if you go by gore only. I mean, for gorehounds like the rest of us, Jessica and I, I would say that's just a blip on the scale. But when it comes to the real life horror, it's a little much. It's a little. I mean, if you can be if you are affected by the news and how it's negative, this will probably bother you a little bit. So I'd say 5 to 6 when it comes to something like that.
Well, I just thought of something that I had been meaning to say. We were talking about something when we were rewatching the first chapter about Beverly and the way it seemed like they were adding in the implied sexual component to what her father, how her father was abusing her. And it occurred to me that that they probably would have wanted to make it more relatable in that sense to people, to add that in as an extra level of horror rather than just being her being hit, I guess, in this day and age. Just and the other, I don't know, maybe it kind of makes up for the other creep factor that was taken out with the, the controversial thing with the kids and the.
I thought we could get through a podcast without talking about the orgy. Yeah. I guess that's not going to happen.
Well, it's
always brought up, and it's yeah.
We don't have to dwell on it. I'm just saying that could have been like a shuffling of some sort toward that.
Okay. I do want to add the certain creep factor when he's when it's Beverly's mother's birthday, and he's smelling the thing, and he's like, close your eyes, and he's like, I was just like, okay, that's awful, awful. So yeah, that's my rating for horror and
awful.
No, I gave it a 6, and entertainment value, I gave it a 9. Keith, do you have a entertainment value rating?
8 or 9. I can't really. It's so hard to quantify those kinds of things. I was very entertained though, and I was cringing quite a bit during that the perfume thing. There's just something so scary about the idea of just that type of helplessness that you're seeing, that real world kind of you just and the frustration about the frustration of the bashing stuff at the beginning. You just want to, like, why can't these people be killed? That kind of thing.
You want revenge for the people that are being hurt.
This mindset be gone.
That too.
Like, why is this still here?
Anywho.
And the fact that the real world is scarier than a fucking clown.
Yeah, I know.
than an alien clown who eats people. The real world's scarier.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I sort of said, I was starting to say something, unfortunately, while Jessica was talking earlier, which was,
right.
I was blaming myself for trying to insert it. It was almost as if during that scene, even though he was being fished out of the river and bitten into, it was almost a relief.
Yeah.
That he wasn't dead from the people, yeah. Mm-hmm. Anywho, I think that wraps up everything. Jessica, what are you doing? What are you in? Well, I know you're assistant director.
Oh, yeah, for Spare Room, coming up at Mad Lab, October 10th through the 26th, I think. 8 p.m. You can get tickets at madlab.net. I'm not in anything else currently.
That's okay. You're busy saving lives.
Yeah.
Yeah, and to clarify, the play is called The Spare Room.
Yes.
And it's not like a spare room at Mad Lab that happens to be doing something.
Correct. It is emotional.
Mm-hmm.
It's a sad play.
Oh, dear.
Marianne can't wait.
Anywho, that's all we have. Welcome to your first podcast that we're by ourselves.
Ooh.
We are not part of It's All Been Done Presents network anymore.
Keith's devastated as you can hear.
No, we certainly we would have cut that out. But,
I probably will. And I'll insert something else there.
no. Well, we can't cut it out now because we've talked about it too much.
Okay.
You just cut the whole thing out.
Yep.
Slice.
That's impossible.
This is our first episode without being on the network. So is that a good thing? I don't know. Is that a bad thing? I don't know. Anywho, stay tuned for more fun things. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Bye.
Bye.
Or whenever.
Who's got the time?
Liar, Rona!
I know your secret.